The Denver Nuggets aren't unbeatable, but who's stopping them? They've now won 8 straight games, propelling themselves to the 3 seed out in the Western Conference, and are threatening the 2nd-seeded Grizzlies to take that as well. Nikola Jokić is a nightmare to match up against, and with Jamal Murray playing the way he has been lately, defenses are running out of answers. So what makes this team so unstoppable right now? Let's break it down. Jamal Murray just made Denver Nuggets franchise history with an absolute scoring clinic, dropping 55 points, 5 assists and 2 steals, with 7 threes to top it off. That insane performance now makes him the franchise leader in all-time 50-point games, including playoffs. And here's where it gets even crazier, because Nikola Jokić put up 56 points back on December 8th, as the Nuggets now have one of the rarest duos in NBA history. Murray and Jokić became only the 4th pair of teammates ever to drop at least 55-plus points in the same season. The only others, KD and Kyrie, Bird and McHale, and Baylor and Jerry West. That's pretty incredible, especially considering how rough of a start to the season it was for Jamal Murray. In fact, his return might be the biggest reason for Denver's turnaround. At the beginning of the year, there was real concern about whether or not Jamal Murray would ever be the same player again. He struggled mightily in the Olympic Games, and then opened the season looking nothing like himself. His burst wasn't there, as he wasn't getting past defenders like we're used to seeing from him, and for his scoring, normally such a huge part of his game, it just wasn't at the level we'd come to expect. For a guy who usually relies on much quickness, shiftiness, and tough shot making, it was a legitimate worry. But the best case scenario, that he just needed time to play himself back into shape. And that's exactly what's happened. Over the last few months, he's looked noticeably leaner, moving better, and most importantly, regaining that explosive first step. That 55-point game wasn't just a flash in the pan, as he's absolutely been cooking the league for the past 3 weeks. Looking every bit like the star Denver needs him to be, and his impact goes beyond just the numbers. With Jamal Murray back to being a serious offensive threat, defenses can't load up on Nikola Jokić like they did earlier in the season. There were plenty of nights early where Jokić had to do absolutely everything, shouldering the scoring load while still trying to run the offense. But now he's picking his spots and dominating when needed. The Nuggets are absolutely at their best when Nikola Jokić can dictate the game, and Murray can be that dynamic scoring threat who keeps defenses honest. And if this version of Jamal Murray is here to stay, Denver just became a whole lot scarier. Jamal Murray getting back to his old self has been a game changer, not just for him, but for the entire team. When Jamal's playing through injuries, it's almost like his confidence takes a hit. He doesn't push the same way the Nuggets need him to, and it's clear in how the rest of the team functions. But now that he's healthy and playing at that high level again, it's a huge boost. Defenses now have to respect Murray along with Jokić, which has taken the Nuggets' offensive system back to that kind of level that we've come to expect from them. The spacing of the floor has opened up significantly, giving the rest of the role players more room to move, create, and finish, opening up the Joker's passing game even further with timely backdoor cuts. When you've got 2 guys like Murray and Jokić drawing so much attention, the rest of the team can take full advantage of that extra space, and it's made the Nuggets a whole lot harder to defend. That chemistry between the two is starting to show in a big way after a slower start to the season. But the good news does not stop there. Michael Porter Jr. has also found his groove after a bit of a slow start as well, that best showcased by his 39-point explosion against the New Orleans Pelicans in a standout performance. And since then, he's really started to play like the player we know he can be. When Porter is locked in, he's such a dangerous weapon for Denver, adding another layer to an already potent offensive system. With him getting back to form too, the Nuggets look even more like the title contender we all thought they would be coming into the season. But then there's Aaron Gordon, who had his own struggles with injuries earlier in the season, missing time with nagging issues, but when he finally returned, there were a lot of questions about whether or not he would still be effective in the starting lineup after Denver started to find their groove with Russell Westbrook. So he came back off the bench, and he was there for at least a couple of weeks, but bringing him back to the starting lineup was a real issue. However, now that he's back in the starting lineup, those concerns completely vanished, as Gordon has seamlessly slotted back into his role, bringing the energy and defensive versatility we've all come to expect from him. His defense, athleticism, and ability to contribute offensively give Denver a unique balance, and he's been key in helping this team hit its stride. All of these factors are coming together at the perfect perfect moment, and the Nuggets are starting to look like the powerhouse we saw in seasons past. That 8-game winning streak is a clear sign that the Nuggets are back to their title contending ways, and when this team's firing on all cylinders with everybody healthy and clicking, they are a real threat in the Western Conference. The Nuggets aren't just a real threat. For me, they're actually my favorites to come out of the Western Conference. There's something about the way they've come together, especially now that Jamal Murray is back to his old self and Michael Porter Jr. is also finding his rhythm. With Jokić running the show, it feels like this team is just built for the postseason. Right now, if you look at the top of the Western Conference, you've got OKC, Memphis, and Denver, with the Nuggets sitting just one game back of the Grizzlies for that second spot. It's a tight race, and Denver's looking like they could pass the Grizzlies pretty early after the All-Star break. Below them, Houston and LA are both lurking, but both teams have a lot of question marks. Houston's been hit hard by injuries, and their three-point shooting that was so consistent when they were winning games has faded recently, and you just wonder if it will ever come back. The Lakers, meanwhile, are still figuring things out, and it's way too early to judge them just yet, but giving up 131 points to the Utah Jazz in regulation isn't a great sign, especially given the fact that the Utah Jazz aren't a good offensive team, or a good team at all for that matter. I'm very worried about their lack of size, especially when you're going up against a team like Denver with Nikola Jokić, as I just don't see how the Lakers would hold up. Looking further down, you've got the Clippers, Timberwolves, Mavericks, Kings, Warriors, Suns, and Spurs, and to me, it really feels like that over the last week or so, we might actually have our playoff 10 out in the Western Conference. With the Suns and Spurs both falling to the 11th and 12th spots, I think this might be it. I personally really like the Warriors now that they have Jimmy Butler, as he gives them a lot of stuff that they were missing, along with the Kings, who do have enough talent to stay competitive. If Dallas can get their bigs back, they could be an extremely dangerous team down the stretch too. Minnesota have to figure out their offensive flow, but there's no doubting that they're still a solid squad. And for the Clippers, I think they are the true dark horse of the West. They have the potential to surprise anyone, especially if Kawhi stays healthy, but the contributions they've had from Norman Powell and James Harden has made them very good even without Kawhi. But despite all that, when I look at the West as a whole, Denver is absolutely the team I trust the most. They've got the most complete roster, they're clicking on all cylinders, and most importantly, their experience is second to none. Jokić is playing at an MVP level, Jamal Murray is back and thriving, and with the supporting cast of Porter Jr., Gordon, Westbrook, and others, they've got everything they need. They're not just talented, they're built for the postseason grind. I don't think any other team in the West is as well-rounded and ready to win as Denver, and beyond just that, I don't see how teams are going to guard the Nuggets at full strength. Going into the playoffs, I think the 7 other teams out in the West are going to be praying that someone else beats Denver so they don't have to play them. With the way the Nuggets are built, they match up really well against the rest of the Western Conference, and maybe Minnesota have the best chance to knock them off once again, with all of that size and length on the defensive end of the floor, but with how inconsistent they've been this season, I don't think that's a sure thing by any means. If the Denver Nuggets were able to make it back to the NBA Finals, I believe their opponent would most likely be the Boston Celtics, who have a set of plays that they go to at the end of games that can absolutely flip a series on its head, and if you want to hear more about that, you can watch this breakdown now.